Everything you've been taught about money is a toxic lie designed to keep you broke. Wealth isn't a miracle. It's a violent, cold-blooded algorithm. I bled to decode the exact, unforgiving roadmap to $10 million. Watch to the end, or stay trapped in poverty forever. Have you ever felt a physical sickness in your gut while scrolling through your feed, watching yet another teenager in an ill-fitting, borrowed suit, leaning against a rented Lamborghini, preaching that all it takes to succeed is following your passion? It makes me genuinely nauseous. The brutal, unspoken truth of this world is that 99% of the self-help books, the mindset courses, and the financial gurus flooding the internet are absolute garbage. They are nothing but cheap dopamine injections meant to keep you docile, feeding you the toxic delusion that if you just practice the law of attraction, meditate on wealth, and think happy thoughts, the universe will magically ship bags of cash right to your bedroom. Let me wake you up from that fever dream right now. If building wealth were that mystical and easy, the streets wouldn't be filled with exhausted people breaking their backs from 8 in the morning until 5 in the evening, only to stare at a barren bank account at the end of every agonizing month. Before we dive into the abyss and violently tear down everything you thought you knew about money, please take a second to hit that subscribe button. Your support is the raw fuel that drives this channel to keep exposing these hard truths and creating the high-level, no-nonsense content you deserve. Warmly welcomes you to a space where illusions go to die and reality begins. I know the quiet desperation you are feeling because I used to be drowning in that exact same cesspool of toxic misinformation. I spent years trapped in a suffocating maze of endless hustle, burning the midnight oil, reading thousands of pages until my vision blurred, endlessly hoping for a breakthrough. Yet, at the end of the month, looking at my financial reality, I felt a crushing despair so heavy I wanted to erase myself from the face of the earth. I intimately understand the agony of moving frantically but going absolutely nowhere, the feeling of being a hamster on a wheel spinning at terminal velocity. I understand the overwhelming paralysis that grips you when standing before a mountain of dense, contradictory financial theory while you are already physically and mentally drained just trying to survive.
Who has the energy to decode tens of thousands of pages when you are busy fighting a daily war just to put food on the table? That is precisely why this video was born out of my own blood, sweat, and shattered illusions. I locked myself away and sacrificed thousands of hours to mercilessly dissect, chew up, and brutally apply the principles of the 40 most legendary books on finance, business, and human psychology ever written. I tore them apart and bled through the failures so you wouldn't have to. And I am standing here today to throw a harsh, unapologetic truth right in your face. Wealth is not a miracle. It is not an accident of birth, and it sure as hell is not luck. Wealth is ruthless, cold-blooded pragmatism. It is a completely emotionless mathematical algorithm, a rigid system of foundational laws. If you plug in the correct variables and execute the formula, the result is forced into existence automatically. What you are about to hear is not another dry, academic book review designed to put you to sleep. This is the decryption of a battle-tested map, a crystal-clear, uncompromising trajectory stripping naked every guarded secret from a flat zero to the $10 million summit. I have divided this map into 3 distinct, unforgiving levels. Whether you are currently scraping the absolute bottom of the societal barrel or suffocating in the mundane trap of a middle-class income, this algorithm will surgically isolate exactly what you must do, which lethal skills you must acquire, and which pathetic, poverty-inducing mindsets you must violently rip out of your skull. Fasten your seatbelt and brace yourself, because the reality I am about to expose will shake the very foundation of your world. To survive the violent collision with this new reality, we must first navigate the bloodiest trench of the entire journey.
the brutal ascension from absolute zero to your first $100,000. When you are broke, the world does not care about your feelings, your passions, or your delicate sense of work-life balance. At this stage, you are entirely expendable to the marketplace, and the only way to claw your way out of the abyss is through sheer, unadulterated brute force. I remember looking at my bank account during this phase, feeling a cold dread wash over me, realizing that no amount of saving pennies on a cup of coffee was going to rescue me from financial ruin. The gurus will tell you to diversify your investments and index funds, but when you have nothing to invest, that advice is a death sentence. Level 1 is not about investing in the S&P 500. It is about investing every waking second of your existence into mutating yourself into a weapon. You must become completely obsessed with acquiring a high-income skill, something so difficult and painful to learn that the average person will quit after the first week. We are talking about sales, copywriting, high-level coding, or digital marketing. Skills closely tied to generating revenue. You have to swallow your pride, accept that you currently offer zero value to society, and chain yourself to a desk until you do. There are no weekends here. There are no evenings off to binge-watch television while drinking cheap beer. I sacrificed my social life, my hobbies, and my sleep, running on pure adrenaline and the terrifying fear of remaining poor forever. You must adopt a mercenary mindset, trading your newly acquired skills for capital as efficiently as humanly possible. This is where you learn to eat dirt and smile while doing it. You will face rejection, humiliation, and a crushing sense of imposter syndrome that will threaten to paralyze you on a daily basis. But you must push through the mental agony because the first $100,000 is the hardest money you will ever make in your entire life. It is the phase where you prove to the universe that you are not just another consumer waiting to be spoon-fed, but a producer capable of extracting capital from the economy through sheer competence. During this phase, your spending must be ruthlessly policed. Every dollar that leaves your pocket is a soldier you are sending to die instead of fighting for your freedom. You live below your means, not out of a poverty mindset, but out of a tactical necessity to build your war chest. You are starving your immediate gratification to feed your ultimate liberation. People will call you cheap, they will call you crazy, and they will try to drag you back into the comforting mediocrity of their own failing lives. You must cut them off. It sounds harsh, but the gravity of poverty is so immense that if you tether yourself to people who are comfortable being broke, they will pull you down into the dirt with them. You must operate with a psychopathic level of focus, channeling every ounce of your rage and desperation into becoming undeniable. When you finally hit that six-figure mark in your accounts, you will experience a profound physical shift in your reality. The suffocating weight of sheer survival lifts off your chest, but the war has only just begun. Yet the cruelest irony of this algorithm is that once you finally drag yourself out of the mud and secure that first 100,000, the very survival tactics that saved your life will instantly transform into the chains that keep you imprisoned. Level 2. The grueling march from $100,000 to $1 million is where 90% of hard workers meet their graveyard. I spent years trapped in this exact purgatory, arrogantly believing that if I just worked twice as many hours, I would make twice as much money. I was dead wrong. You cannot hustle your way to $1 million because human energy is finite, and there are only 24 hours in a day. To break the six-figure ceiling, you have to violently murder your ego. The ego tells you that nobody can do the job as well as you can. It convinces you that if you delegate, things will fall apart. This toxic perfectionism is exactly what keeps you trapped as an overworked employee in a business you supposedly own. I had to learn the agonizing lesson that giving up control is the only mathematical way to scale. You are no longer a lone mercenary. You must become an architect. This phase requires you to stop trading your time for money and start trading your money for time. You must build systems, standard operating procedures, and automated pipelines that can function perfectly while you are fast asleep. You start hiring people, buying software, and leveraging other people's time to multiply your own output. This is a terrifying transition because your overhead increases, and suddenly you are responsible for the livelihoods of others. It requires a profound psychological rewiring. I remember the nausea of making my first big hire, watching my hard-earned cash drain out to pay someone else, terrified they would ruin my reputation. But this is the toll you pay to cross the bridge into true wealth. You must pivot your hyper-focus away from doing the daily tasks and aim it entirely at solving higher-order problems. You become the visionary, the strategist who allocates resources rather than the laborer swinging the hammer. Furthermore, your relationship with money must evolve from saving to leveraging. You begin to deploy capital into marketing, into aggressive growth strategies, and into acquiring assets that yield cash flow independently of your physical labor. The goal of Level 2 is to decouple your income from your time entirely. You will face a devastating identity crisis here. You will feel lazy because you are no longer grinding until your hands bleed, yet your bank account is growing faster than ever. Society teaches us that hard physical labor equates to moral virtue, but the market rewards leverage, not sweat. You have to reprogram your brain to understand that a single brilliant strategic decision made over a 10-minute cup of coffee can generate more wealth than a decade of mindless manual labor. You are building an empire of moving parts, a machine that prints money autonomously. When that machine finally crosses the seven-figure threshold, you step into an entirely different realm of existence, a place where money ceases to be a tool for survival and morphs into something far more dangerous and powerful. Shattering the million-dollar ceiling and advancing to the $10 million summit demands a complete psychological mutation, forcing you to kill the manager inside you and resurrect yourself as a cold, calculating allocator of capital. At Level 3, the game is no longer about how much money you can make. It is exclusively about how much money your money can make. When I first touched $1 million in liquid capital, I felt an intoxicating rush of invincibility, followed almost immediately by a crippling paranoia that I was going to lose it all. This is the great paradox of the millionaire's mind. The stakes are astronomically high, and the financial gravity is entirely different. You are no longer competing against hustlers and grinders. You are sitting at a high-stakes poker table with institutional investors, private equity sharks, and seasoned market veterans. To reach 10 million, you must master the art of asymmetric risk. You are looking for investments where the downside is strictly capped, but the upside is virtually limitless. This means acquiring significant equity in scaling businesses, deeply understanding tax loopholes that the rich use to legally insulate their fortunes, and deploying heavy capital into real estate or market assets that compound aggressively over time. The hardest skill to learn at this level is not action, but profound, agonizing patience. Warren Buffett famously said that the stock market is a device for transferring money from the impatient to the patient, and nowhere is this truer than the ascent to 8 figures. I had to train myself to sit on my hands, to watch my net worth fluctuate by tens of thousands of dollars in a single afternoon and feel absolutely nothing. You cannot afford the luxury of emotion. Fear and greed are the twin assassins of generational wealth. People sabotage their ascent to 10 million by getting bored, over-tinkering with their portfolios, or chasing the shiny new crypto token because they crave the adrenaline rush of level 1. You must strip all adrenaline from your financial life. Wealth at this altitude is shockingly boring. It is a slow, methodical compounding of massive capital blocks executing a predetermined algorithm. Furthermore, your network becomes your most lethal asset. At this summit, deals are no longer found on public job boards or standard real estate listings. They are whispered behind closed doors in private rooms. You must cultivate relationships with people who are playing the game at an even higher level than you, offering them immense value so you can gain access to their deal flow. You become a guardian of your empire, constructing impenetrable legal moats, trusts, and holding companies to protect your blood-stained treasure from litigation, inflation, and excessive taxation. It is a lonely, isolated vantage point. The problems you face here, lawsuits, systemic market collapses, complex partnership negotiations, are incomprehensible to 99% of the population. You carry the silent, heavy burden of sustaining an economic ecosystem that feeds not just you, but everyone in your orbit. But as the compound interest accelerates and the numbers on your balance sheet blur into the 8-figure range, the machinery of wealth reaches escape velocity, creating a fortress that nothing short of a total societal collapse could breach. Standing at the apex of this $10 million mountain, staring down at the wreckage and the triumphs of your grueling ascent, you are finally stripped bare and forced to confront the terrifying, unspoken cost of your freedom. I wish I could tell you that crossing that $10 million finish line felt like an explosion of cinematic euphoria, but the absolute truth is that it felt like an echoing silence. When the frantic struggle for survival finally ends, you are left completely alone with your own mind. All the excuses you ever made about why you weren't happy, blaming your boss, blaming your lack of resources, blaming your bills, evaporate overnight. You realize with a heavy heart that money never possessed the magical ability to heal your childhood trauma, fix your broken relationships, or give you a profound sense of spiritual purpose. The gurus lied to you about the destination just as much as they lied about the journey. The Lamborghinis and the mansions are just empty fiberglass and hollow drywall. So why bleed for it? Why sacrifice your youth, burn the midnight oil, and subject yourself to decades of relentless, agonizing pressure? Because wealth buys the ultimate, non-negotiable luxury of human existence: absolute sovereignty. It buys you the power to walk away from any table, any toxic boss, and any degrading situation without a second thought. It buys the peace of mind, knowing that if your mother gets sick, she will have the best surgeons on the planet, not a waiting list at a crumbling public hospital. The roadmap to 10 million is not a path to happiness. It is a violent crusade for freedom. You are going to have scars. You will lose friends who couldn't handle your evolution. You will have moments where you question your own sanity. And you will carry a hardened edge that only those who have survived the trenches will ever truly understand. But looking back at the weak, desperate version of myself who used to cry over a negative bank balance, I would endure the fire 1,000 times over to forge the armor I wear today. The algorithm is laid out before you. The illusions have been burned to ash. You now have the exact psychological and tactical map to transcend your circumstances. The only variable remaining in the formula is your own terrifying capacity for endurance. The universe is waiting for your move. Execute the formula. Pay the price in blood and sweat. and take back the life that is rightfully yours. The journey to a $10 million net worth is not a fairy tale. It is a brutal, calculated evolution of the self. It begins in the trenches, where you must weaponize your time and energy to claw your way to the first $100,000 through sheer brute force and relentless sacrifice. Once you break free from survival mode, the strategy must violently shift. Scaling to $1 million requires murdering your ego, replacing sweat with systems, and trading money for time. You transform from an exhausted laborer into a visionary architect. Ascending to the $10 million summit demands yet another psychological mutation into a cold, ruthless allocator of capital. Here, emotion is your enemy, extreme patience is your greatest weapon, and asymmetric risk is the name of the game. Ultimately, standing at the apex reveals the harshest truth of all. Wealth will not fix your internal brokenness. It will not heal your traumas or inject your life with profound spiritual meaning. The exotic cars and massive estates are merely hollow illusions. However, what this immense wealth does provide is absolute sovereignty. It grants you the ultimate power to dictate your own existence, protect the people you love without hesitation, and walk away from anything that compromises your dignity. You trade your blood, sweat, and youth not for a superficial smile, but for the impenetrable armor of freedom. The roadmap is clear, the illusions are shattered, and the algorithm for generational wealth is now in your hands. The fundamental truth of this journey is that the skills, habits, and mindsets required to reach the next level of success are often the exact opposite of what kept you alive in the previous one. To grow, you must continuously destroy your past self. Hustle and grind will save you from poverty, but they will imprison you in the middle class. True wealth is not a product of endless manual labor. It is a byproduct of extreme leverage, emotional mastery, and the relentless pursuit of personal sovereignty. Money is not the destination. It is simply the ammunition you need to defend your freedom. Identify exactly which level you are currently operating in and ruthlessly adjust your tactics. If you are at level 1, $0 to 100K, stop daydreaming about passive income and index funds. Become dangerously obsessed with mastering a single high-income skill and outwork everyone around you. If you are at level 2, $100K to $1 million, stop trying to do everything yourself. Swallow your pride, build automated systems, delegate tasks, and focus entirely on high-level strategy. If you are pushing beyond that, practice agonizing patience and deploy capital into asymmetric opportunities. No matter where you currently stand, stop tying your internal happiness to a future bank balance. Focus entirely on building the competence, leverage, and resilience required to win back your time. If you achieved absolute financial freedom today, what is the very first thing you would change about your daily life? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below so we can all read, discuss, and learn from each other's perspectives. If you found value in this content, please hit that subscribe button to support the channel. It gives us the drive and motivation to keep producing high-quality, powerful content for you.